Hi everyone. Today is Tuesday, May 6th, 2025. Welcome. I'm Jeffrey Morgan, and this is a talk I host twice a week to discuss my experiences on the path of soul transcendence. This offering is brought to you by the movement of spiritual inner awareness with the encouragement and support of my friend John Morton, who holds the mystical traveler consciousness, which is the spiritual consciousness which does the work that we're doing here today. If you're new to the call, the format is simple. We'll start by calling ourselves forward into the light, which is calling our awareness forward into the light of God that's already present. And then we're going to chant three Anai hues. Hu is an ancient name for God, and Anai invokes a quality of empathy and compassion. And then I'm going to play a video clip from my teacher, John Roger. And then I'm going to do a reading from Kabir. And then we can talk about whatever you would like. So with that, I'll ask my friend Ron here to call us forward into the light.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Lord God of all creation, we come before you this evening with love, the love that is the essence of what, not who, we are. We are divine beings having and using a human experience for the purpose of learning, growth, and upliftment. And for this time together, Lord, we give our thanks. We give our thanks for it all, for all of it is for our use. So be it.
We spoke about the light of God
Nous avons parlé de la lumière de Dieu
and the magnetic light and the Holy Spirit,
et de la lumière magnétique et du Saint-Esprit,
which is the light of your own intelligence, the light of your own soul.
qui est la lumière de votre propre intelligence, de votre propre âme.
But we have another part we deal with called the sound of God.
Il y a un autre aspect, une autre partie à laquelle nous avons affaire, et c'est le son de Dieu.
It is mentioned in the Bible in the very beginning
Il est mentionné dans la Bible au début,
as God spoke,
lorsque Dieu a parlé,
and from that came all things.
et de cela, toutes choses ont découlé.
Often people ask me, what did he say?
Souvent, les gens me demandent, qu'est-ce qu'il a dit?
And I say, I don't know the word.
Je réponds que je ne sais pas le mot.
But every sound that everyone makes with all the planets in every universe would be what he spoke.
Mais tous les sons de tout ce que les gens disent dans toute la planète,
Because,
ça ferait partie du mot qu'il a parlé,
sorry,
qu'il a dit.
because out of that came all things.
Parce que depuis ce mot originel, tout est sorti de
We
cela.
call it the sound current.
Nous appelons cela le son de Dieu.
When
Le
it
courant,
comes into the human body, it comes in very particular sounds.
le courant du son de Dieu. Lorsqu'il vient dans le corps humain, il se manifeste dans des sons très particuliers.
For example,
Par exemple,
we hear it as drums,
nous l'entendons comme des tambours,
as wind,
comme le vent,
as water,
comme l'eau,
as crickets,
comme des cigales,
as violins,
des violons,
as flutes,
des flûtes,
but not as we know them here.
mais pas tels que nous les connaissons ici.
But as you go inside, you say, oh, it isn't water.
Mais alors que vous entrez à l'intérieur de vous, vous dites ah, ce n'est pas de l'eau,
It's stream going fast over rocks.
c'est une rivière qui coule rapidement sur des rochers.
It is not one flute.
Ce n'est pas une flûte,
It's millions of
ce
flutes.
sont des millions de flûtes.
It's not one violin.
Ce n'est pas un violon,
It's a quartet.
c'est un quartet.
Others hear it differently.
D'autres personnes peuvent les entendre différemment.
Once you hear that sound,
Une fois que vous avez entendu ce son,
you will never turn back.
vous ne vous retournerez jamais.
It is what has been referred to as angel's food.
C'est ce qui a été appelé la nourriture des anges.
That is what keeps us alive as a being.
C'est ce qui nous soutient, ce qui nous garde en vie en tant qu'être. Être.
Many people who are in the idea of the sound current
Beaucoup des gens qui suivent ce concept du courant du son
call it by different names.
l'appellent de différents noms.
Some call it astral travel.
Certains l'appellent le voyage astral,
That takes you to the astral realm.
qui vous emmène dans le niveau astral.
Some call it soul travel.
D'autres l'appellent le voyage de l'âme,
That takes you to the soul plane.
qui vous emmène au niveau de l'âme.
And we call it soul transcendence.
Et nous appelons cela, nous, la transcendance de l'âme.
And for those that do that,
Et pour ceux qui font cela,
they go into the God planes.
ils vont dans les royaumes de Dieu, dans les niveaux de Dieu.
You may do that spiritually while you're alive physically.
Et c'est quelque chose que vous pouvez faire spirituellement, alors même que vous êtes vivant ici physiquement.
It is not simple.
Ça n'est pas simple,
It is easy.
mais c'est facile.
It takes determination.
Ça requiert beaucoup de détermination.
The devotion that you people have for reading,
La dévotion que vous avez, par exemple, pour la lecture,
if you took that and 15 minutes a day did spiritual exercises,
si vous preniez cela et pendant un quart d'heure par jour faisiez des exercices spirituels,
you would already be way ahead of many other groups.
vous seriez déjà bien en avance de de nombreux autres groupes.
Because you already have the mind trained to go in a direction.
Parce que vous avez déjà entraîné l'intellect, le mental, à aller dans une direction donnée.
It would be very hard for you to go into a magazine or a bookstore
Ce serait très difficile pour vous d'aller dans un magasin ou dans une librairie
without picking up something and looking through it.
sans prendre un livre et puis feuilleter à travers le livre.
If it stirs the mind, you buy it.
Et si ça vous taquine l'intellect, vous l'achetez.
And you would rather read that than talk to someone
Et vous préférez souvent lire ce livre que de parler à quelqu'un.
because you have a better conversation in your head.
Parce que vous avez une meilleure conversation dans votre tête.
Spiritual exercises work in a very parallel way.
Les exercices spirituels fonctionnent d'une façon très parallèle à cela.
It only takes you to do them.
It only takes-
You.
Ça ne requiert que vous pour les faire.
After you practice them, you'll find out they were doing you all along.
Une fois que vous les aurez pratiqués pendant quelque temps, vous réaliserez qu'il vous faisait tout le temps.
That is what we refer to as God meeting you on the path to his home.
C'est ce que nous appelons Dieu vous rencontrant sur votre voie de retour.
Not only that,
Non seulement cela,
you'll find out he was carrying you all along.
vous réaliserez qu'il vous portait tout du long.
Okay. This is a poem by Kabir called The Unstruck Bells and Drums. The Lord is in me, the Lord is in you, as life is in every seed. O servant, put false pride away, and seek for him within you. A million suns are ablaze with light. The sea of blue spreads in the sky. The fever of life is stilled, and all stains are washed away when I sit in the midst of that world. Hark to the unstruck bells and drums. Take your delight in love. Rains pour down without water. The rivers are streams of light. One love it is that pervades the whole world. Few there are who know it fully. They are blind who hope to see it by the light of reason. That reason which is the cause of separation, the house of reason, is very far away. How blessed is Kabir, that amidst this great joy he sings within his own vessel. It is the music of the meeting of soul with soul. It is the music of the forgetting of sorrows. It is the music that transcends all coming in and all going forth. Okay, we've already got some hands. We'll start with Arlene.
Thank you, Jeffrey. And my first thing is to thank you. I have such deep gratitude for you, your commitment as a servant, and how, I mean, just it's a miracle. And to everybody that participates, because I always learn from everybody. This is my first share. And part of my gratitude, 1 week ago today, I was in the OR recovering from a hip replacement. So it's 1 week out. And here I am. And I want to do a shout out to local minister, Wendy Sandberg, who's an OR nurse who was in the room on her day off to support me to get out. And all the love and light from everybody. And so I just ask people who are on the call, just send me love and light for continued healing. And that brings me to my question, because I am aware that deeply receiving is a challenge. I've worked on it for years. I'm a very good giver, and I seeing my deservedness, I know I'm well loved. I know it intellectually, and I also know it's part of the divine coming into me, and I want to open any blockages I have so that I can more deeply receive the divine love that comes through each person that shows up for me. So whatever you have for me on that will be great.
Yeah, as you can imagine by reference to the service that I do, I myself have struggled with the whole receiving thing as well. I think for me, there was a huge aha moment that came from the realization that all those years of giving, I was only giving to one beingness. And all those years receiving, I was only receiving from one beingness. So the idea of distinguishing between the two became a kind of an ego trip. Like, I think I'm the giver. Well, that was the first mistake. To think that I can give anything to anyone when there's really nothing that I have to give other than my own divine connection. So it's really God that gives through me. And I came to understand that when people would want to give to me, like even on these calls, people say these things, and my mind goes, I don't know what they're talking about. They say all these nice things to me, like, and I find it quite ironic because I say on these calls, I'm like very, very clear that I'm very, very human and very, very messy, and that I haven't gotten this off it. And people are saying these nice things, and my mind gets in the way. But then I realize like one of the greatest gifts we can often give people is to receive. When I have volunteered, I have witnessed how the service transforms people around me. Even the hardest people, even the most angry people, even the most ornery people, it somehow softens them. Somehow the act of service is this catalyst that starts to break apart the crystallizations of our ego. In many ways, I think the greatest gift we can ever give another person is that opportunity to serve. to give somebody the opportunity to participate in that and to know the gifts and bounties that it has. So, in many ways, we have to start to understand what it is that's standing between us and receiving, other than an ego trip, because sometimes that gift, that ultimate act of love, is to just let somebody give, to receive of it. In a world that is zero sum, we go out in a very transactional way and we think, I give, or we think that we're atoning for some sin in a past life. That's a common one. Or we think that somehow we're furthering a cause. And in point of fact, the only two things we can be doing are completing our karmas, completing whatever that curriculum is. And if we're smart, we infuse that process with the love that is God, and we make our action a celebration of that divinity. Like, let your light shine so bright that it may glorify the Father in heaven. The other thing to consider is that giving and receiving and giving, if we start to break the barrier that we create with the ego, they really are the same. And I can remember instances where I have felt lonely or outcast, or I have felt some kind of a negative emotion, and I yearned for belonging, or I yearned for loving, or I yearned for forgiveness, or I yearned for just fill in the blank. And when I chose to give that at the very moment I was yearning for it, to just give it away freely, even to the first person I see, I would feel filled with that experience. But likewise, when I allow myself to fully receive of another's loving in their expression, it somehow enhances and empowers me to give. Someone like you, if you need a carrot in this whole process, something like a hip replacement, you're not the type of person that's going to think only about your comfort. You're going to think, when can I get off my butt so I can start helping people again? But if you need a carrot, our capacity to give is always limited by our capacity to receive, and our capacity to receive is always limited by our capacity to give. So, another way to put it is, there's that wonderful moment of peace where JR talks about how big is your hole. The way that it works is, if you set conditions on your receiving because they're the same field, and even if you have this capacity to give, you'll be brought down by this capacity to receive. And likewise, I work with people all the time who go, why am I not receiving more from this world? There's a very entitled, spoiled attitude that can come forward and create a lot of suffering for people. And I go, well, what's your giving level in this world? It's not transactional in the sense that, oh, I have to give and in recompense the world will give to me. It's that it is a continuum of energy that needs to be healthy and fluid and conditionless in order to fully express itself. So there's a way in which allowing yourself to receive through this process will enhance your ability to give in this process. So yeah.
I appreciate this, and I've worked on this for years. And um, when I envision what service is, and I used to teach this, it's the infinity sign, right? There's the giving, and that the real service is the apex, where you don't know who's giving and receiving because you're just in the one. Like, that is my view of what service is. And, you know, I'm just it's been really a beautiful experience. It's just looking at how can I continue to what you started with, like understanding it is not about people giving to me, Arlene. it's not that, so it's putting the ego aside. That's the trap of sorts that puts the limits on it and all that. And I've worked on it for years because I had a mother that didn't know how to receive anything. So I knew the
I didn't realize that
frustration.
the speaker was up there.
Um, I realized the frustration of what I was doing to others by not receiving because she used to do that for me. And it was very, very frustrating to not give. So it's what you said about consciously moving into the divinity of it and the realization that I'm not a giver or a receiver. I'm working with the God within me. And that's the mindset I want to deepen.
It's
And
it's also degrees of identification because if you identify as your body, then you're the receiver. If you identify as your soul is serving the body, and other people are serving the body. So the body simply is the subject of the service. It's like if you go to somebody's house with another minister and you start doing prayer communion on them. If you reference from the ego and the body and the mind, you go, oh, all these people are helping me. I'm so uncomfortable. But if you do it as a soul, you go, we're serving this one. And this one happens to be your body.
yeah, that's a good reframe. That's really helpful. Yeah. Um, Anything else that you can see knowing me as you do? And I have to say that I've been really good. I set a boundary of when I would start seeing people again. And I've limited myself. People are going, oh, so you're you're right. There is that part of me that wants to get back to what I usually do, but I also am honoring myself and saying not until this time. So it's been good for me to get, that's the other piece of it is asking. So even putting my hand up, that's been always a bit of a challenge. Um, but I also kind of really always hear you ask not so you receive not. So I'm really trying with that. Um, and just if there's anything else that you can see, for me, I really resonate with everything you've given me, and I'm just if there's anything else, I'll take it before
Yeah,
before I say goodbye.
all healing is healing for all of us. So, in a very real sense, it's not wasted time for you to be sitting still. And maybe it's an opportunity to serve parts of you that have fallen by the wayside because of your constant movement and need to serve externally? Are there parts of you that haven't had a voice or haven't been fully paid attention to? Are there are there times when your service has come from a version of what you think should be, rather than simply moving with an impulse of spirit? And I think those parts of you, one thing that will come from the change in your body is a kind of economy of energy and a judiciousness of where you place your focus. So it's kind of like the I can't afford the luxury of a negative thought. It's I can't afford to move into service out of an impulse or out of a compulsion or out of a habit pattern. I need to move into service because the Spirit has called that forward. And there's a level of refinement available that's called where is this sourcing from? And it's very, very subtle. And I think that's what I saw is kind of that's a very critical or precious opportunity for you to refine in the surrender of that, where service is an act of surrender and only God serves, and you surrender to that flow like a river of loving, like a river of joy that flows to the city of God.
Well, that's really helpful. Service is all over my ministerial blessing. It's all that's it. But I have on my desk, not my will, but thy will. But again, it's that opportunity, the refinement, the
It's the little pieces, it's the quickening. It's you're sitting still, and normally you don't have the time to really go through particle by particle and see where there may be resistance or there may be righteousness or they may be a point of view or a should. Like you can serve somebody from God told me to be here and do this, or you can serve somebody from the system failed this person. The distinction between the two is if your mind's running the system failed this person, all of a sudden your energy is being diverted into an ego position rather than simply being focused on the surrender to the current of spirit within you.
yeah, and I can see the fixer part because the system, the healthcare system is so wonky that and I do feel like I have a pretty good attunement for what's mine to do and what's not mine to do and the things I brought
Sure.
further. I know pretty much when spirit's tapping me on the shoulder, but
But
it's
is there a
this,
deeper level of silence and emptiness
yeah,
where you have
yeah.
no agenda, no thought other than presence and the joy of serving?
Yeah, that is yeah, that's really, really useful because I can be in the habitual part of it. And so, and miss out on really where the sourcing of it started and why I'm doing it in the first, what not I'm doing, why, being an instrument, that's always been my prayer too. Let me be
Yes.
the instrument. And so just,
And sometimes the greatest service might be getting to a place where you have no againstness with anybody involved. Because sometimes outrage can be a very powerful source of energy,
yeah,
but I don't know that your system is set up for that anymore.
yeah,
So I think there's a refinement of it's going to be graceful or you just choose not to move. It's like either it's going to be just graceful surrender to a natural current of spirit, and it's like the fight is over, the war is over, I'm putting down the sword, and I'm just floating on the current of spirit.
yeah, that is my intention. But the word refinement is something I'm really gonna cultivate. And I see it's the subtleties is what I want to open and make a wider awareness.
Because the answer to the prayer of commutating higher and higher frequencies of spirit demands higher and higher levels of refinement. And what'll happen is if you have an ounce of righteousness and a speck of it in
Who,
there.
me? Righteousness? Oh no, I don't have any.
Yeah, no, no. I was just giving an example. I wasn't talking about you at all.
Um,
So the energy comes through and it'll feel the resistance and it'll kind of start to burn you up. And it can even have physical symptoms like your heart will start beating really fast or you start to get a little dizzy. Like I'm saying it, in a very physical sense, you're being offered an opportunity to continue serving, but with a higher level of sensitivity and refinement where not a single speck is out of cooperation with the flow of spirit.
yeah. And the other piece of that has been challenging is to also serve myself, to minister to myself and
Well, that's what I'm
and
saying.
get
Working on the
yeah,
specs is an extremely high form of service. You
yeah,
simply clearing and loving and flooding with loving your inner kingdom of heaven is such a great service to all the universe, all the universes.
yeah, yeah.
That's enough. If you did nothing, if you didn't call a single person or do a single visit or doing it, if you just sat at home and got to a place where there's nothing but loving in your consciousness, you have done a great service for humanity. Like peace begins with me and really anchoring that in your experience.
I am receiving that. It's going in deeply. So
Beautiful.
thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you all. Thank you for this community and for JR and all that I know that my healing is so fast and rapid because of all that we've been gifted. It's just the application. I used everything I knew. Pain level 0 to 1. That's where I'm at. So it's pretty good. And no narcotics at all. So.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe it's really just God wants you back to work or something.
I'm gonna use the work on the refinement and see what the order is. So I'm just gonna
Exactly.
really, really make sure I know. So thank you
God
so
bless you.
much. Thank you.
Thank you.
I am totally blessed and I receive the loving. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, Rachel.
Hi, Jeffrey.
Hi.
Hi, everybody. Thank you as always. You're awesome. And thanks for everybody for this community and holding space. I had something really interesting happen. Well, I've been doing a lot of, I guess, clearing work since the last 6 months were a little wild. And I went through this work situation about a year ago where I was essentially there was an employee who was being problematic, and I did my best to handle it what I thought was the right way, which was going to HR. And my boss at the time didn't really do much about it. And as a result, the company actually ended up restructuring, and I was the only one affected by it. And they hired someone outside, and it was a whole thing. So fast forward to it's ironic because it was almost to the date exactly a year ago. This past Wednesday, my boss had forwarded an email to me that she clearly did not mean to do. And it was said employee talking a whole bunch of just saying a bunch of mean things about me. And I had never had anybody else at my job ever have any complaints about me. So, I mean, I felt very blindsided when the restructure happened, and I very, professionally, kindly, but boldly asked, my boss at the time, I was like, I feel very blindsided. Like, why is this happening? I've never gotten a bad, kind of report or anything. And then I just thought it was ironic that a year later, almost to the date, she forwards this email on accident. I asked her about it because it was clear to me that she didn't mean to forward that to me because there was no context. So I went into her office. I had asked her about it, and she turned white like a ghost, like a deer in headlights. And I was like, she was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to send that to you. I meant to send that to like the GM of our company, who's like the leader of the company. And I was like, no, it's okay. I was like, I just don't understand why. Like, as you can imagine, I was blindsided a year ago, and she was like, this has absolutely nothing to do with you. It was we're having interpersonal issues with this other employee. So then I felt a bunch of dissonance about it. And, I was like, no, it's no problem. I left the office. It was kind of cleared. But I woke up this morning still feeling bothered by it because I understand it was a mistake on her end, but it kind of brought me back to a year ago where I was like, wait, a year ago when I tried to address this in the best way I knew how, I was almost the one taking the fall. And now here we are a year later. And I'm getting evidence to what was a year ago, even though you lied and never told me that. And then two, you're now essentially forwarding things to the head of the company about this problematic employee, which is what I did a year ago. So I guess I just kind of wanted clarity on why that was happening, or maybe that's just part of karma that I'm kind of working through, and it is what it is. I did just think it was
Well,
ironic of the timing of it and
well,
everything.
let's observe a couple things. So, did you notice how your mind trying to work with it didn't make you feel better?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did
Yeah.
you notice how talking up your position also didn't make you feel better? Like talking about how you were right and they were wrong and how could they do that and they were
Yeah.
did that
Yeah.
make you feel better?
Well, I didn't necessarily tell them that, but in my mind, do you mean
No, no,
like,
no. I'm asking you personally. You just told me a story. It was very
oh yeah.
entertaining. I really liked it. And I don't think it made you feel better, right? To tell me that story.
No, I mean, I don't
Your
know.
ver
It's
that
exhausting.
version, the version of reality you just gave me, it has a lot of pressure in it. It has a lot of discomfort from what I observed. I could feel it when you were telling me this story.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in
That's
answer to your question, yes, absolutely. You are experiencing all of this because you have karma to experience all of this. Yes, that's true. Now, then there's this question of like, what do I do with it?
Yes, exactly.
So, what do I do with it is, firstly, you're believing your thoughts. You don't know what people are thinking. You don't know why they were thinking it. You don't have the full picture. You don't understand the karma. And you certainly don't understand what you might have done to them in a past life that they're not balancing out right now. So you're pretending to know a lot of stuff. With me so far?
Yes.
Right. So, from my perspective, the first step is going, okay, I don't actually know all the things that I'm saying. And I really don't like believing X, Y, and Z. So let's just, that awareness is, I don't like believing that people are talking trash about me, right?
Mhm.
I don't like believing that my boss doesn't have my back.
Mhm.
So underneath all of that, we have these beliefs that say, I thought it, therefore it's true. But if you were to zoom in and just say what occurred, so you constructed this entire narrative about your rightness and their wrongness when all you had to do is go, oh, look, an email and it has some energy on it. I'm going to ask for the Christ to enter this email and clear it for the highest good of all concerned. And you can do it right now. Just see the Christ entering, see the light entering the email, filling every word, and just ask for the light to be placed with this woman who's saying things about you. Just ask for light to bless her or him.
Mhm.
Sometimes I even get very surgical. If they talk a lot of trash about me, maybe I want a special blessing on their tongue, that it be full of loving and light, that every word they say be a blessing on me and everyone else.
Mhm.
One of the interesting things about the work that we do is we always have this choice of what game we're playing, right? The game that you were playing is a zero-sum game called I belong or I don't, and people like me or they don't, and I advance in my career or I don't. And it's a story about what your career is and why it is and how it all works. But there's a different game you can be playing when you're initiate of the mystical traveler consciousness, when you're working in the field that we work, where there's no such thing as a non-spiritual level, so everything becomes a spiritual action. All
Mhm.
you're doing is cleaning up the mess. All you're doing is all this is, right, is you left your room messy, you forgot you left it messy, you come back and now you have to clean the room. That's what's going on right now. Every uncomfortable situation is just a karma like that. We made a mess in the room, now we cleaned it up. And the key to going through it gracefully, the grace of it is the game called How Do I Bring the Most Love, the Most Unreasonable Loving into this situation? Where everything's telling us that we have a righteousness going. Everything's telling us that you know what, they should apologize to me because what they're doing is screwed up. And I've always been nice to them and I've never had any issues with other people. And how could they do that to me? Yeah, you have every justification not to be loving. And guess what? The thing that will heal you the most is being unreasonably loving. So I'm saying be selfish. It's not about the story. Who cares about the story? I mean, for me, it's about freedom. Most of the time, when we're like, oh, this person's such an immoral person, they talk shit about other people. But the truth is, you probably talk shit about other people in your life. Why don't we make talking shit about people loving? Why don't we say God loves the shit talkers? Why don't you say, thank God for the shit talker in me. God bless you. I love you, shit talker. You're the most beautiful shit talker in the whole world. I forgive myself for getting the shit talker in me is divine. Yeah, I know it sounds funny, but it's totally true. These
Yeah.
these ones that you alienate, that you make superior to, are just yourself. The ones that you judge are just you. I hate to break it to you. I have so many frustrations with certain people, and I have to keep coming back to this reality. I only have frustrations with myself. And your boss who's just so two-faced. And but guess what? You've been two-faced, and God loves you just the same. What if there's enough love in God to go all around that God can love your boss and this lady who talks shit about you? God can love the restructuring. God can love you. God can love all of it. The freedom is knowing that that's so. The freedom is living in that knowing. And the freedom is letting go of the story and not needing to justify anything and just doing what you feel inspired to do. So it becomes, well, what would be my calling? What would be the spirit calling me to do if I didn't have the story of righteousness where I'm right and they're wrong and this happened and this restructuring? What would be my calling? What would that spirit be guiding me to do right now? And just go do that. And then if people ask you why you're doing it, I don't know, it just felt like the right thing to do. You don't need to justify your existence. You don't need to be liked by people. You don't need to do anything. Your opportunity is to know that your presence is enough and know that God loving you is enough and know that you can follow that calling at any moment and that it doesn't require justification. It doesn't require an ego position.
Mm.
The truth is, you have a strong energy field. And this is the truth. You have a real strong ego field and energy field and a very strong creative energy that comes through, which has served you very well in your life and in your work. That energy also triggers people, which is also wonderful. Thank God you were built that way so that they could learn about being triggered by your energy field.
That, wow, that, I mean, everything you're saying, but especially that part checks out.
Well, of course, you didn't need me to say that. When your auric field's real strong, you probably enter a room and everybody's like, "Who's that?"
I'm not even, and it's interesting because I'm not, like, I mean it when I say it. I was not upset or mad.
Sure, you
I
were
was,
upset or mad.
well, I was more so kind of laughing. I thought it was kind of, I don't know. I always like to get to put the ending to a story. So when I saw that, it felt like, okay, now I know. Um,
Well, but that's the thing, you don't know. All you know is you got an email and you have another thing to clear in front of you. You're trying to create a
yeah.
story of your life to justify your existence when all you need to do is respond with the loving that you are. It's like it comes down to that one question that plagues humanity over and over and over. Would you rather be right or would you rather be happy?
I love that. I love that. My
No,
dad,
you should, and you sure love being right, though. You really do. You just love it. So it might be a tough decision sometimes.
that's
But
funny. My dad would always say that you can be right or you can be happy.
yeah, because that's the thing. Rightness, in that sense, carries with it the sting of wrongness. If I if I am right, that means there's something that is wrong. That means there's something that I don't want to be. That means there's some part of myself that I don't love. You get that?
Mhm.
When you start to embrace the full picture and you say, I'm all of that. I'm the boss who is irresponsible and a liar. I'm the lady who talks shit. I'm the person who accidentally forwards the email. And when you can love all of those at the same time and just say, I love you over and over and over to that one inside of you that really pissed you off, even when it doesn't feel good to say, I love you, you just do it anyway. It starts to break open. And then you start to feel like you just want to advocate for everybody. Wow, this person, I mean, I really seem to trigger them and they seem to be really suffering. And I know what it's like to be triggered by someone and to suffer.
Mm. Mhm.
You start to wish them well you start to pray for them and love them and say, man, this lady who talks shit, I can feel the insecurity coming off this person. And I know what it's like to feel insecure. Lord, please just bless this person that they may know that they're loved. And let me be the loving that expresses that. You
Mm.
see that?
Hmm. Yeah, that was loud and clear.
Yeah. Your story ain't gonna help you. And talking to your friends about your story and having them go, oh my God, she did what? That's not gonna help you either.
Yeah. It was more so just, I mean, the timing. I also couldn't get over that it happened like May 4th was the
It's
original email, and then it was May 3rd was when she forwarded. So literally, like that was just, yeah, but
yeah,
you're right. It was an opportunity to clear it deeper and further.
of course, when you said May 4th, I thought of like Star Wars Day.
I, of course, yeah.
Of course,
Yeah.
that's what I was like. The Force is strong with that one. She talked a lot of shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. I don't want to take up too much time. We got more hands up, but I really appreciate that.
How are you feeling?
That's a loaded question. Um, I feel better day by day. Yeah. No, I'm about to cry. I don't know why I'm about to cry right now, but yeah.
Yeah, no, that's what I was suggesting. Maybe you just want to release that. Since you have like this virtual room full of people holding the light, maybe you can just let it all go right now, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
I've gone through periods of my life that were very, very painful. And everything in the mind tells us to zoom out and form a story about what came before, getting better day by day, and what's going to happen in my future. And you go everywhere but the present moment, which is exactly where God loves you. So it might serve you, or at least it served me, in those moments to start to zoom in. If this minute is painful, go into this second, or maybe go into a single breath and just feel God breathing you. Reduce the unit of measure and keep your focus single. And just visualize that light and that loving flooding every level, layer, and aspect of your being.
Yeah. That was helpful. I got tuning forks and those have really been helping a lot too with that.
Yeah, it helps with tuning your instruments and stuff.
Or just like it helps, I feel like it helps tune me, honestly. Or it helps like
Oh,
just
that
kind of,
kind of tuning fork.
yeah, like get back into, yeah. Like get back into the present moment, you
I
know?
mean, do what works.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. God bless you, Rachel.
Thank you. God bless you. I love you.
Love you. All right. Barbara.
Hey, Jeffrey. I'm just a little concerned. It's 7:24. I don't want to run you over. Should I take a rain check?
Well, I'll stay on a bit longer because I'm not sure if I've talked to Natalie or Joseph before, so I might stay on longer if they want to stay.
Okay, and if you want to take them, I have shared with you twice.
Okay.
but I need to share. So whatever works for you.
Okay. Well, you're talking, so why don't you?
Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
um so I really don't want to share, but I want to share, and
Okay.
I'm feeling really vulnerable. Um, I kind of just want to talk to you and forget that everybody's on the line. Um, so I'm asking for light, and I don't have the word level, and I have so many things going on. So I made a little list, and just to complete with you for myself, actually, to complete for myself. When I shared with you that I was dealing with homelessness, what I neglected to say is I've been paying rent the whole time through. I actually had leases in places. I chose to take to the streets because of mold and chemicals and a refusal to change my apartments. So I would have like 150,000 by now. My fear was that if there was literally, if there was World War III, I would have no place to go.
Mhm.
And I don't know if I saw COVID coming, but when COVID came, I had the option, but I ended up in assisted living. So where am I? Um, Physically, I'm very frightened about my back. I'm numb up to the waist. I'm having neuropathy combined with S1, L3, 4, and 5. I was supposed to have surgery. I'm 100 pounds overweight and I don't have a place to live, so I didn't know where I'd heal. And they wanted to put rods and screws. So I left that. At the same time, I'm bouncing. Um, I am so scared to share, Jeffrey. Um, you said so much tonight. Sometimes I agree with you 500%, and there's other times that I don't. Um, so I wrote, okay, so my ministerial blessing says to breathe in and breathe out.
Oh.
When I got that, I thought, I thought I was going to be the next Barbara Streisand. What are you talking about? Breathe in and breathe out. I really thought this is ridiculous, but I get it now. But the irony is, everywhere I have lived since my 30 years in a Beverly Hills apartment has been toxic. And my body does not want to breathe in those places. I actually find myself holding my breath. And that's why I went to the car, the shelters, everywhere. Um, I am having trouble revealing. I don't know which direction to go. Okay, so what I really wanted to say before I heard you saying things was I have perfected playing small to not irritate the hell out of people. Kind of what you were saying to the woman before is it doesn't seem to matter anymore if I play small or if I'm disabled or if I look like shit. And when I don't want, I'm afraid to say here because I never hear anybody really claim it. It's that I'm God. I know it. This journey of homelessness, I was forced to, my goal was to not fall because I had a walker and to not lose my center. And so in that, everywhere I walked, I was just trying to get help.
Mm.
And I ended up everywhere. All the populations I've been in. And I didn't even fathom that there was a ministry going on. I was looking for help. Now, why can't I say this? I never hear anybody say this. I know I have a bright light. And I know that it irritates I wrote this down, the white patriarchy, slumlords, and narcissists. Because even in my ordinariness and my loving or whatever, people get that I can see through them. And not from a place of judgment. It's like the Terminator. It's like boom, 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 boom. I'd be the greatest coach. Well, I have been for people. Um, I want to, instead of being a victim in this conversation and having a story, I want to come from the place that I know who I am. I've remembered. I really have. And I've seen the power of walking through these places. And uh, the people, I adore the people, dementia, schizophrenic. Somehow with me, they snap out of it. And then the caregivers hate me, discrimination, because they see that. And uh, Jeffrey, I'm just praying that you're getting on another level. What I'm trying to say
No,
is,
I get what you're trying to say. I, one thing that I would observe in what you shared that might be an opportunity for you is it seems like you've been working on solving quite a few internal problems externally. And you're talking about toxicity, you're talking about the white patriarchy and offending people with your light and the whole thing. Uh, I kind of go a little bit radical with all of it, which is we only experience within ourselves, and all relationships are inside of ourselves. So you almost want to flip that on its head and say, why are you being oppressed by the white patriarchy inside of you?
right. I knew
Or
you were
what?
going to, oh, I knew you were going to say that. That's why I'm afraid to share.
Yeah,
Because, and so let me give you my butt. Okay.
yeah. What's
Some,
your butt? Yeah.
the butt is that there have been serious consequences in my life, namely this homelessness.
No,
As a,
you
as,
no, there's just been karmas you've been fulfilling in your life and you've been doing them beautifully.
okay. Okay. Um,
Homelessness might be part of your curriculum.
well, yes. I mean,
And you seem to be doing well with it, actually.
I, I, I have only because there was this knowing that got very strong that became almost fearless, like that I'm so protected. And the only place that I have felt, I want to come back to what you're saying. I don't want to couch that. But the only person I ever felt allowed me to be big and encouraged it, and even encouraged my different perception from a group around me, like in a super two or something, was JR.
Yeah, he had a great way of doing that.
Yeah, and I've looked at 10 years. I was looking at where am I limiting myself? Where am I holding myself back? And I felt that I snapped out of it. And just when I really got what loving myself was or is, which is not a bubble bath, it was really all this work we're doing. It was almost like everything just turned upside down. Like a whole nother lesson came in. It's almost like every time I get a lesson, like in USM, I'd hand in my paper on Friday night. There was no reprieve. As soon as we called in the light, I'm already
Yeah.
into
So,
something else.
but sometimes the lesson is you simply need to balance your karma, meaning you don't have to take it personally. Sometimes you just need to balance out things that were done in the past that you're now balancing out so that you can reach greater levels of freedom by completing your karma. It's the privilege of wrapping a bow around it and heading off to the kingdom of God, you know.
Well,
I
yeah.
and I talk about it this way. It's kind of like getting to a place where walking through our karma is an act of loving. And we just go, this one's for you, JR. This one's for you, God. And this is the last time I'm gonna, I'm doing this with excellence and impeccability. If homelessness karma is what I have going, I'm gonna do homelessness karma with excellence, impeccability, and loving. If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it with loving. Now, there is a radical perspective.
Uh-huh.
I think we underestimate the degree to which even our lower self is a microcosm of a macrocosm. When John Roger in the excerpt talked about the mind going back to the mental level, it's the microcosm of the mind going into the macrocosm of universal mind. Every part of you is a fractal, is a microcosm of the macrocosm of all existence. So when I say look inward. I even mean in the context of mold toxicity. Why am I perpetuating mold toxicity on myself? What can I clear inside of me that is mold toxicity? Do you see? It's a really radical perspective. And I understand there's a practicality to it, which is like, I don't, I'm crossing the street and a car's coming. I don't go inward and go, how do I clear the car that's heading for me? There's a practicality called let the body do what it needs to do to cooperate with this level. And at the same time, there's an impeccability that says if there's any level of righteousness, any level of againstness, any level of story, any level of anything other than accepting and cooperating with the flow of my karma and the flow of spirit as I express loving, walking joyfully through my karma, I'm going to sacrifice that. I'm going to let that go into spirit. And I think that anything we walk through that is infused with that loving of God is a blessing, even if it involves homelessness, even involves mold, even if it involves toxicity. We limit things with the story we tell ourselves. It's like I've had medications that I didn't really want to have, and I'm not really big on Western medicine, but as the syringe was being prepared, I just started asking for the light to bless every molecule that was in that syringe.
Mhm.
And I started seeing, and no matter what that drug is designed to do, when it enters my bloodstream, it's going to heal every cell in my body. And just to know that. But a lot of that is attitude. And the tricky part is your mind will want justice to be served. Your mind will want things to make sense. Your mind will want fill in the blank. And I have no problem with your bigness either, or any of the big energy. And I totally get it. I mean, m my energy field is a similar way in the sense that like when I was young, I would just kick up whatever was hidden underneath the surface in people, and people would strike out against me. And that's fine. And now I do the same thing, but then the mystical traveler comes through and takes the things off, and they go, I like having him around. Stuff gets kicked up and it goes away.
Oh, can I isolate what you just said?
Yeah.
Um, okay. I'm trying not to go into story, and it's not a story. It's just I'm in an assisted living that I'm trying out. And I always go places with very clear intention of wonderful things. I write them out. I got here, private room, no carpeting, clean. Okay. I get ready to sign the papers. This has been a pattern. And the room is gone. I end up in the last room. I'm looking at carpeting with urine, whatever embedded in it. It's been a nightmare. Throwing at the whole thing. And so I finally asked them to change it. This just happened today, as I'm saying, to the room upstairs, which just opened up. They said yes. I got ready this morning, Monday, and you can't have that room. It happens to have no carpeting, brand new heater, clean, no smell, nothing.
Yeah, you're very focused on the physical. What if the point is you're there to fall in love with and bless everything that you touch, and it doesn't matter what it is. Maybe your job is to bless the urine-stained carpet and fill it with so much traveler energy that the next person who prayed and prayed and prayed for the presence of the traveler gets to have the traveler through the urine-stained carpet. You have a story that's all about your comfort, and you disempower yourself through that story because you don't realize that you are also, just as you said, I know that I am God, you are also a commutator of God's blessings. And the purpose of you being there is most likely to serve. When in doubt, serve and love the one in front of you. That's literally my modus operandi. Why? Because everything else gets me into trouble. and my mind is too stupid to make good things happen, make things happen. But when I just love and serve the one in front of me and I bless all that I touch, and I have these really silly mantras in my head like everything I touch turns to soul. Or I look at someone like you and I go, oh, this person's in my life so that I can love them. So it's a urine stained carpet. Oh, you're in my life so that I can love you. See, that's the challenge. That's the new level.
Okay.
That's the freedom.
Okay. And then when you say that, I hear you. It's the survival kicks in. Where am I going next?
Well, you're going to the heart of God, and you might take a detour through some physical discomfort, and that's really okay because we've all dealt with a lot of physical discomfort in a lot of lifetimes. And I mean, if you compare this to the medieval times, you're probably doing better than the vast majority of people in Western Europe in the 1200s. You
Yes.
survived that, and here you are. So only this time you get to finish up and go home to God. So it ain't so bad a deal, right?
No, I want that more than anything.
Of course, and I understand there's a lot of ministry to the basic self. To a large extent, what you're going through is the basic self running you through reactivity to spaces, to smells, to things like that. Maybe the one to serve as the basic self. You keep trying to fix basic self discomfort externally, but maybe the basic self is to one to love and hold and heal all the past memories and abandonments and all the things that you think that have happened to you, and go in and just make your basic self so held and so loved and so supported that you could be in the middle of a war zone and you just feel God loving you. I know that you have the power to do this. I know that you have the attunement to do this. It just takes a discipline of focus and a willingness to drop the story.
I've lost my discipline in not having silence. Everything, there's been noise.
Man, if you know what, if you can do spiritual exercises in a train station,
Yeah.
you'll kick everybody's butt at every retreat because they'll just fall asleep and you'll be like chilling and somebody will be talking and people will be complaining, oh, so and so was coughing when I was doing SCs, and you're gonna be like, what? I didn't hear anything. Can I please get back to my SCs now?
Oh God, I want that. Thank you. That's a great intention.
I heard about this guy. Actually, my godfather once told me he
Yeah.
said that he was really jealous of this dude earlier in the movement who actually had an apartment next to a train station.
Oh God.
So he was doing SCs while the trains were going by. And everybody else would get distracted, like so and so would cough, so and so would fart or something. Yes, that does happen at retreats, by the way. And people would like wake up and get annoyed when they're doing their SCs. And this guy was just steady, steady as a rock, doing the SCs like nothing was going on. I mean,
God. Yeah.
I remember I used to purposely practice. This is a side note. When I was going to take the bar exam, I was purposely studying in loud coffee shops. And then what ended up happening when I took the bar exam at the Sacramento Convention Center, they were having a Christian convention next door with like a worship band playing Christian rock songs during the entire bar exam.
Oh my God.
And the people around me were like raising their hand, like, this is an outrage, this is an outrage. And I'm just sitting there going, suckers. Like, I don't care. It's not even as loud as a coffee shop. We're all good.
And I would have been the one raising my hand. I
I
can hear
know.
everything.
I know.
I would have been the one going to court.
I think the start of every sentence from now on for you is regardless.
Regardless. Okay.
Well, regardless of my shitty room, I met God there and he blessed me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Regardless of my air quality, I breathed sacred air and my lungs were healed. Regardless of, you see what I'm saying?
I'm writing it
Regardless
down.
of my home situation, I knew I was at home in God's heart the
Yeah.
entire time.
That's what kept me going. It's
Yeah,
just
so you know what I'm saying. I'm not just blowing smoke right now. I'm telling
yeah.
you what works.
Okay. And last rage. There is a component of rage. I observed the whole mold thing 10 years ago, how it changed my brain chemistry. I never knew this. Um, but as I'm getting more in pain and I'm very uncomfortable in my body, I got my medicine sitting here. Um, there's a component of rage. I call it, I wanted to tell you last week, multi-dimensional rage from my body,
It's not, it's not. The issue is there's a part of you that doesn't feel heard.
oh,
So,
yes.
so basically, but you're the one who's not listening. You've got a story going about mold and all this other stuff, but there's other aspects that you're not addressing. You've been externalizing the problem so much over so long, and there's a part of you that's going, you're not hearing me. I need you to listen. What's really going on and it's not about the physical circumstance. There's something else where you can bring in the Christ and heal it. And you
Okay.
already have everything that you need, but you're so stuck in the story in your head that you're not actually addressing what the source of the suffering actually is. So the rage is more like a desperation expression,
Yes.
and
Yes.
it gets your adrenaline going. But flip the script, honestly, Barbara,
I
just
will.
flip the script, try some really wacky perspectives on what's going on inside of you, and listen to the chorus of voices of all of your inner reality.
Okay.
And really listen, and listen as the healer. Listen as the soul, as the listener, as the one who has all that is needed to heal the consciousness, to heal all those parts through forgiveness, through loving, through awareness of God's presence.
Okay.
So be
Okay.
the healer to yourself within you and stop trying to fix everything physically to feel better. Feel better, and then from that attunement, become very effective in your physical world. Inside out, not outside in. Yeah?
Right.
Inside out.
Yeah. Wow, Jeffrey, thank you. And I don't want to take much time. Can you just put my back in the light? If do you have any sense of any before I go into story?
Yeah, you have an issue with the energy flow in your body is severely obstructed, mainly by thought forms and crystallizations of what you think your body's doing.
Okay.
And I think if you listen to your body and clear the crystallizations, the thought forms, the judgments, and just start from the assumption, my body knows how to heal. My body has its own intelligence. My body is God's sacred temple. And then you start to listen and clear those on an energetic level. So it's
Right.
trapped emotions, it's judgments, it's beliefs, it's whatever it may be. And you actually go, you might trace the meridian lines, or you might trace the organ systems, or like get an anatomy book and play around with it. You
Mhm.
start to clear energetic obstructions. Some of the suffering that you experience and the lack of vitality that you
Yeah.
experience is about obstructions created mainly by a degree of stubbornness that you have going. And I'm sure maybe somebody has suggested that you could be a little stubborn at times before, but let's just say maybe I'm the first one. I don't know. But that stubbornness comes through an energy flow. So the more you can do to start to work the process inside of you to unblock the passages and just place that intention on God's light flows down through the crown and starts to flow into every level, layer, and aspect of my being. You got that?
Yes. Thank you so much,
And
Jeffrey.
when you
Thank
see
you.
an obstruction and you see an image or something, really
Yeah.
go into that and heal it and clear it until it just goes away. And then it's like it never happened, and then start all over again. Divine love now flows into every level, layer, and aspect of my being. You see?
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Jeffrey.
No
Thank you
problem.
so much. God bless you.
Okay, God
Okay.
bless you.
Bye bye.
Okay, Natalie.
Oh,
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jess. I'm for the first time here on recommendation of Kosha. She's a friend of mine.
Okay.
And yeah, since 1 year, I've been going through a very bad period. Lost 3 times my job. I'm also in a relationship where the guy refuses commitment. And yeah, I don't know what to do.
Okay. So what's the question?
What should I do? What does the universe want to tell me?
Start with you. All relationships are inside of you, and there's no excuse to withhold your loving. So if you have an
Mm-hmm.
issue with an external relationship, go to that person within you, and that includes relationships with your work or otherwise, and start to see the light flood into those people. Take ownership and realize that they're part of you. Do forgiveness as
Mm-hmm.
yourself. That which we see our only our own suffering, we see only our own experience. That which we perceive is only parts of ourselves. So what you should do is get busy looking inward and working with the people inside of you. And then when that feels very clear and free and light, then make the engagement with the person based upon the natural flow of the loving energy, not based on the logic or based on the mind that you like, not based on what makes sense intellectually, but based on the flow of loving. What would love have me do?
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, also related to work.
Also related to work. So all
Okay.
relationships are inside of you. So if your boss is not fun, like let's is it your boss is the issue or what is the issue?
No, the first time it was because the company was getting sold and they were getting rid of all the contractors.
Got
The
it.
second time is that the work was drying out and it was not economically viable to keep me. And actually, the third time, it was the person who was managing me was extremely controlling and micromanaging. And I refused to show her that that would impact me.
Got it.
And it certainly affected her. And then one day, bye bye,
Yeah.
which was actually a blessing in disguise because I was blessing in disguise because she was, it was, I could hardly stand it.
Yeah. A lot of uh a lot of what's challenging about the professional situation that you're describing is the way in which the consciousness sees a direct exchange of time and value. And it becomes very
Mm-hmm.
transactional. A lot of the freedom that I experience in my work physically in the world is understanding that God is the source of my well-being and that God has many
Mm-hmm.
messengers by which I am supported. When we identify a single solution in our head for like, this is how I'm going to be supported, this is how I'm going to be taken care of, what happens is we actually limit the flow of energy and the flow of possibility. To a large extent, whether we have a job or not, or whether we have any professional success or not, is largely a product of our karmas. Are you familiar with that term?
Mm-hmm.
So,
So I should clear my karma.
well, no, you are clearing your karma. You're complete. So, a lot of people in the Western world conflate the notion of karma with the notion of retribution, like eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, things like that.
No.
But but actually it's simply more like physics. Like you throw a ball up in the air in one lifetime and you see it fall in the next. It's not
Mm-hmm.
personal. It's not personal.
Yeah, what comes around goes around.
Well, it's not quite that. It's that in a multi-dimensional way. So everything, even down to your personality and a lot of the traits that you have this lifetime, the challenges interpersonally, the fact that you like the mental level, things like that, that's all part of even the ego itself, the construct of who we think we are versus who we truly are is actually karma. So when I say you're completing your karma, the freedom comes in your attitude in relation to that.
Mm-hmm. So you're telling me I shall look inside myself and clear that.
I'm telling you that I have not found freedom in trying to control my external career and environment because that's largely dictated by what I need to experience in order to complete what I started in past lifetimes.
Mm-hmm.
The freedom comes when I am experiencing an inherent joy of being, regardless.
Sorry, you mean regardless of job or not?
Correct.
Mhm. But you still need to pay for your bills.
Sure. But I say again, God is the source of my well-being.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's interesting. It seems like these are newer concepts for you.
No.
So, what's your intention just with the sharing? What can I do for you? How can I help you? Or how can I serve you?
You just said I should look inside myself, so I will do.
Um, what would you like to have different in your experience?
I would like to have a permanent full-time job and not worry about finances.
Yeah,
And I would like to have a committed relationship.
yeah, I think those are wonderful intentions.
That would give me a lot of security, and then I could work much more on my spiritual well-being and development.
I see. I see.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you
So,
don't have a job, you worry permanently. So,
yeah, so I guess that's where we differ. So, I would say that from the perspective of soul transcendence, what you described is something like have, do, be. So if I have a good job, then I can do more spiritual practice, then I can be more of the person I want. It's kind of like it's dependent upon I have a job, therefore it gives me the result that I want. I would actually say that from the perspective of soul transcendence, it's more about be, do, have.
mhm,
So you want to experience abundance and you want to be free from worrying about money. That actually can start right now. Do you have money in your
mhm.
bank account?
Yeah, still a little bit.
Okay, thank you, Lord, for that money that I have in my bank account. And if you compare, it's all relative, right? Because if you compare that little money that you have in your bank account in the place that you live to places that other people live and things that they go through in their karma, you would feel very wealthy
Mhm,
in comparison. So it really is a matter of perspective and attitude.
mhm,
So when I talk about working on yourself, instead of seeking to have a stable job in the form that you want, I would I would suggest actually looking for the experience that you want and letting the spirit kind of fill in the rest. So it would be like I want to experience security I want to be at peace with where I'm working. I want to know that I always have enough. Those intentions allow you to have countless opportunities to fulfill that in the world. There's infinitesimal ways of fulfilling that for you, right?
So as for the final stage and the
Ask
divine is
start with
filling
the
in.
experience. Start with the experience that you want. And to be honest, I also disagree with your statement about having time to be spiritual. The physical level is a spiritual
I
level.
said having more time, more,
Well,
because
you can,
I would not waste energy being worried all the time.
but you can spiritualize every experience of your life. This is a spiritual level, and you're a spiritual being. You can spiritualize filling out a time card. I mean, their entire spiritual practice is built around basic everyday activities. Zen and the art of fill in the blank. You place limitations in your mind. That's what I'm trying to reflect back to you. You create
Mm-hmm.
conditions for your experience. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You have rules running. Are you aware of what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Where are you from originally?
France.
Oh, that's good. I'm French too, actually.
Really?
Well, I'm naturalized. They gave me an acte de naissance, so I'm technically now it's as if I was born in France because I have my own acte de naissance.
Really?
Yeah, by marriage.
And they change your acte de naissance.
No, it's just in France, it's a weird thing. When you're naturalized, they give you an acte de naissance, so equivalent for the
Wow, I
US.
didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah, one of the joys of dual citizenship, I suppose. Where in France are you from?
I'm in Australia, actually.
No, where are you from?
I grew up in a little village near Paris called Souzy-la-Brèche.
Um,
Very little village.
it is very little village.
Mhm.
I spent more time in Créteil and Maison Alfort, and then in the
Yeah, so not far away from Créteil. My aunt was living actually near Créteil. It's a bit more direction. It's in the triangle, Étang, Dourdan,
oh yeah,
Arpajon.
yeah, yeah, of course. Nice.
It's actually there's a castle in this village which has been given to the presidency, and there's also a church which have I don't know how we say that in English, girouette. Girouette is not normally the girouette on the top of any church is always a rooster, and in this village it's a horse.
Gillette. What is it?
On the top of the church, on the
No,
top
you're
of the
talking. Yeah,
flesh,
yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about,
you
and I don't
always
know the
have
English word.
I think you call it fan in English to give the orientation of the wind.
Yes, 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 yes,
So,
yes.
and normally at the top of any church, it's always a rooster because the rooster is the symbol for France because of
Yeah,
the
the cock. Yeah,
gallo in Latin was for
yeah, yeah.
Gaulois, but is also
Les
the
Gaulois.
rooster.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
just
So,
so
but on
one.
this church is a horse.
That's really cool, actually. I love that. Um,
Mhm.
one thing that's one thing that's characteristic of the French karma, I don't know if you've noticed, is a certain affinity for the mental level.
Yeah, because of the cat. That's yeah, yeah. And the French school system is also emphasizing it.
Yeah, no, that's true. And philosophy and all of that. And there's this concept in France where people will say they're being franche or they're making une constatation. It's just une constatation, but it's never just a statement of reality. There's always a bias. And therein lies the karma because you think you're perceiving reality, but actually you're perceiving a filtered reality that is limited, and the limitations are always subtle. So my suggestion,
Yeah.
maybe let God set the limits. Maybe let
Maybe let
spirit,
God settle what?
maybe let maybe let spirit set the limits of your life rather than your mind.
Ah, okay.
Right now you have beliefs running. Like if you could just take an inventory and say, I believe that I need to work in order to earn a living. I believe that money only comes when you work hard. I believe that I can only feel secure if I have a permanent job. I believe that I can only have good enough time for spirituality if I have financial security. I believe, you see all that? You start writing all those out, and then you just one by one, I release myself from the belief that,
Okay.
I release myself from the belief that watch the energy shift in your consciousness and notice how different you feel.
Okay.
Actually, there's a really wonderful book you might like called The Power Within You. Maybe somebody can post a link. Ultimately, um, you're going to have the experiences you need to have. The suffering that you experience, the worry, is suffering with the illusion of control. There's very little that you actually control in your life aside from your attitude. The rest of it's often just acceptance and cooperation. And there's choice, but the choice is often internal. The choice of the Christ consciousness that we deal with, that choice is even when things are fill in the blank, I choose to be loving. And I choose to be loving first with myself, because that's what we're really talking about.
Mm-hmm.
The rigidity of your consciousness becomes an excuse or a pretense for being hard on yourself or to hold yourself to exacting standards. And I think the refinement of your consciousness is a gift and it's beautiful. It allows you to do beautiful work, but it can also be very harsh and exacting and very direct in its energy. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that there is an opportunity for you to be more tender with yourself in that. The douceur.
So are you saying I'm too harsh to myself?
No, I'm not saying in that sense. I'm saying you can be a bit rigid in your consciousness.
Okay.
Rules, concepts. I would advocate for you being tender with yourself. I think there's a love for rationalism in the French culture, which says it's almost like a release when people just say, oh, this is how it works, this is how it is. I'm totally okay with it because I'm describing what's really going on. But there's
Mm-hmm.
always a bias in there. There's always a something in there. It's programmed in. I think there's a way you can bring greater limitlessness and greater tenderness in your consciousness. And you
Okay.
can and you can allow the spirit to guide the process and allow yourself to be taken care of breath by breath.
Okay. And that's valid also for the relationship.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing. A lot of people contextualize their life. I would say if you want to know how anybody lives their life, just look at how they tie their shoe. You can kind of see the whole picture.
I would not agree with that because it's a very cultural thing. Because I'm French, but I've been living 28 years in Germany, and one day I realized we were trying to teach our son to tie his shoes, and we both right-handed, and he was left-handed. And so one day I was showing him how to do it. The other day his dad was showing him how to do it. Till one day we were such in a hurry that we would be on both sides showing him. And that's when I looked at what my husband was doing, that he was tying the shoes completely different way than I was doing it. And I realized that my Australian friend ties his shoe also in a different way. So it's a cultural thing, in the same way as
I
I
agree.
think colors are apprehended in a different way. So
I
often I would see a color turquoise, and my German husband would say, "No, it's blue." And here, when I say it's turquoise in Australia, they say, "No, it's green." So that's
So I think you proved my point, which is by observing the way somebody ties their shoe, are they very careful? Are they very slow? Do they go really fast and cut corners? You could extrapolate how they approach most things. I don't think people are as compartmentalized as they think they are. So what I'm saying is the way you are in relation to work and relationship has some commonality with the way you are with relationships romantically, and the common denominator is you, your
Mhm.
sensitivities, your beliefs, your limitations, your judgments of yourself and others. I think there can be a lot of freedom for you in letting go of that structure and becoming very present and cooperative with what is,
Mhm.
rather than trying to solve the problems in your mind, which I already tried doing. It doesn't really work. The truth is, life happens the way it happens, like you said. When you were let go and you said it turned out to be a real blessing, in your mind, you were probably trying to figure out, oh my God, trying to solve all the problems. It ended up happening the way it needed to happen, and it ended up happening in a perfect way for you. Your comprehension intellectually is not required for you to be taken care of and for you to be blessed.
So I shall surrender.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm advocating for. I'm glad we got there. Maybe we could do the sharing in French next time. That would be more fun. Sometimes it's hard to describe spiritual things in French. It's a very rational material language, I think. You can describe emotions very well in French, though.
I think it's emotion and humor. And I don't even know how you say that in English, sens de la répartie, or the thing how the hardest
Wittiness, kind of, yeah.
to acquire in a foreign language.
Yes, and
To be
also
able
they're
to express all the
wonderful.
nuances you know from your mother language into another language is
Oh, it's
extremely
impossible.
difficult.
You can't directly, and then expressions too. Like, I was trying to explain "ça c'est pour ma pomme" to like somebody, like it's really, but it's a great term. It's a great thing to say in the right moment. It's
Yeah,
like, yeah, it's like the perfect way to describe that feeling.
yeah. It was meant for me, but it's not.
I think the closest thing is like I had it
C'est pour
coming.
ma pomme, yeah, it's
I
different.
had
There's a
it
different
coming,
nuance.
maybe. Like I had it coming is a good way to say it, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, probably. Hmm. But yeah, I reckon it's for someone with a low level of French or not living in French, you would not understand.
Yeah, I love it. It's a very difficult language.
Hmm.
Anyway, great to speak to you, Natalie. I hope you enjoyed our time and hope to see you again.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. God bless you. All right, Joseph, at long last.
Thank you for staying late for me. I appreciate it.
Of course.
So, I guess I'll just open up. So, a few days ago, I had like some very disturbing dreams. I had a dream that, I killed myself, committed suicide. And then a couple days later, I had another type of dream. I don't really remember it exactly. But I just remember I woke up feeling so much like pain and like anger and like really strongly in my chest. And ever since then, I just been really out of it. It's been like angry at like everything and just like not myself. I call in the light. I still try to do my tone and stuff like that, but I just feel, I don't know, just like mad at the world, mad at myself. So it's not a very good feeling. So I'm here.
Okay. Yeah. Oftentimes, as we're starting to clear and process karma, especially as we chant our tone, and it'll kick up memory of past existences and the things that we do, like the things that we've done in the past that either worked or didn't work. Sometimes it can be that we dream in order to complete a karma so that we don't have to complete it physically, which is an act of grace. In your case, it's an incompletion in that you didn't fully process the emotions of that time and place where you did that. And there were certain declarations that you made in relation to it so that you would release yourself from. So it'd be like, I release myself from the declaration that I'm unforgivable by God, or release myself from the belief that I'm unforgivable by God. Do you understand? So it's just old stuff.
Yeah, because I feel like most of the when I'm feeling all like the anger, pain is mostly directed at myself.
I know, I know. And ultimately, what it kicked up is an incredible condemnation of yourself that you made in that time. So the opportunity, and I think this is just in general, the opportunity is when things like this surface, and they will, because as you dig deeper and as you reach into more profound experiences of spirit, all the not impurities, but all the parts of your lower self that are incompatible with commutating that energy will come up to be cleared because it's just not compatible. So old stuff will just pop right up, and then you have this opportunity to either work with it or be affected by it. Now, being affected by it can be, I don't know how to process this, so it starts to just start to become this anger towards yourself. But if you were to say, like, if you were to bring forward that one that committed suicide in that time and you just go, I forgive myself for judging the one who committed suicide in that time. I forgive myself for judging my divinity as the one who committed suicide in that time. I forgive myself for forgetting that I'm divine. I forgive myself for forgetting that the one who committed suicide is divine. God loves the one who committed suicide in me. I give the one who committed suicide in me to the Christ and I go free. You understand? Because even that you that was confused and hurt yourself in the past is still worthy of God's love and is still worthy of your love as God.
No, I feel like that's even though that came up resurfaced in the dream, I feel like that's been kind of a lifelong thing I've been dealing with. Like a lot of uh anger towards myself, a lot of, feeling you know, like I'm not where I want to be. I'm not this. I know it's like I'm playing out my story, but like I
No,
wish I
no,
was
but
this and all that.
but what's behind that? And that's what I'm getting at. What happens is we judge God's creation and we create a myth of unlovability in that. And then we run from that towards an ego position and a story that reassures us that we're not that thing that we despise. The way to undo that is to make that which we despise equally loved within us to that which we venerate. And that's the way God loves us, because out of God comes all things. God loves all of its creation, and not one soul will be lost.
That's why I love the movement, man, because it's yeah, not one soul will be lost. It's like I don't know. That's why I've always been turned away personally from other religious things. 'Cause I've been to other churches and it's like, you will go to hell for all eternity. And it's like, I don't know. I never resonated with that.
I
But
don't know. This planet's pretty crap anyway, so maybe we don't.
yeah. But yeah, I love that. Not one soul be
So,
lost in that ideology.
so if you could identify the parts of you that you've decided are not lovable and take the time to forgive yourself for judging them and to love them and to acknowledge that they too are a part of God and as such are infinitely worthy of your loving. And if you could give it into the Christ inside of you, then you would start to feel less like a contorted version of yourself because you try to live up to these ideas of who you think you should be. Now, we can always strive for excellence in the physical world, and personality-wise, we can always do that. That's not a bad thing to do. But it doesn't have to come from an artificial lack in consciousness, which says, I have to run after this because I'm broken, or something's wrong with me, or I should have been this, or I should have been that, or all the fears, or all the coercions. Oh my God, what if they think I'm stupid? Well, what makes you think that stupidness isn't equally loved to smartness? You see? It's a big game. You get stuck in this arms race inside of you, trying to mess with you and force you into a way of relating to yourself. And that's the game the negative power plays. When you start to understand that every part of you has been totally the beloved from the beginning, even the parts that you see in your dreams that scare you and all the other stuff, that's still all God. And you start to realize that you can love all of those parts of you, not conditionally, but you can truly embrace them as this is my beloved son. This one inside of me that does suicide is my beloved son. This one inside of me that does fill in the blank is my beloved son. And you can start to embrace all that and forgive all that. And then all of a sudden, you're finally not bound by all that. And then it's like, well, would you ever commit suicide in this life? Well, no, for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is it's a guaranteed return trip. And I'd like to get off this rock. But there's
Yeah,
this other
I
thing.
feel like I know too much to do that now. At least I hope I know too much to do that now at this
Sure.
life. Yeah.
But it's also just like we don't have to have the coercion going on inside of us around unlovability. We can know that all of us are totally loved. Like when John Roger was accused of all that stuff and he said, I take it all. That's ultimate freedom. Because then it's like if everything they said is true, he's already free. He goes, okay, fine. All that's true. Let's move on now. You see the freedom in that. And then you have the freedom to choose and to exercise your right of preference in your life, which says, I would like to live in a way that doesn't hurt myself or others. And I would like to take care of myself so I can help take care of others. And I would like to use everything for my upliftment, growth, and learning. But I'm not doing it from a state of lack and feeling that I'm not enough. I'm doing it from a true awareness down to my bones that says my presence is is enough. My presence is enough.
Yeah, and I like what you're saying is like going those kind of judgments you make by yourself is like trying to love that. Be like that's it's like I'm not evil for or whatever for having those thoughts or having those feelings or acting out that certain type of way or expressing myself that way. Like that's also all part of God, and I just, you know, try to forgive it and love it. But if you
Yeah.
said preference too is like, I prefer to not act that way. So I guess try to do things or put myself in situations where I can act a certain way where I'd feel better
Yeah.
and comfortable with myself.
I
Yeah.
prefer to be kind to people. I prefer to clean up after myself. I prefer to, those are preferences. But that's not to say that the messiness inside of me is not loved by God. Do you see the difference?
Yeah.
We get it all wrapped up, and I have a feeling it has to do with the way that we're often raised, where we get it in our heads when we're little, like, oh, you made a mess, you shouldn't do that, go do this. And there's always this coercion going on to try and get us to do stuff. And so somehow we get it wired that we have to declare certain things unlovable in order for us to behave a certain way, and that's just not the case. Judgment is always a double-edged sword. If I judge anybody about anything, I'm going to have to look over my shoulder to make sure I'm not that, because I've just divorced myself from a part of me. And now I've got to put my energy into not being that. Like if I judge somebody and go, oh, so and so, they're always so late. Guess what I have to do now? I
I'd
just
be late.
yeah, I got to make sure I'm not late. And if I'm late, oh my God, I got to bury all the evidence because I can't be late because I already decided that being late is unjudgeable, is unlovable. So I'm just gonna like I got to hide all the bodies. Oh no, it was somebody else's fault. So I go into blame and I do all this ego protection stuff. When from the very beginning, if I had said being late is totally lovable and my preference is to be on time. When that person was late, I really didn't like that they broke an agreement with me, but it has nothing to do with their lovability. It has nothing to do with the loving that I feel for them. I just really prefer that they be at our meetings on time. Do you see the difference in the energy?
Very, very, very different. As opposed to like, oh, that person's late. Like they're, I would never, they're beneath me. I would never do that, blah, blah, blah. It's a very different energy for just, yeah, like having preference. I don't like this, but it's all lovable. Because yeah, like then you don't have to worry about you if you're late one day, you don't really have to worry because you didn't judge the person who was late. So I get the double-edged sword thing. It's it takes a lot of energy to judge people.
It takes a lot of energy to judge people, and then it takes a lot of energy to maintain the narcissistic image of yourself when you try to distance yourself from your judgment and say, "Oh, I'm not like that. I'm like this." It's a prison. If I can own the totality of my humanness and exercise my right of preference, I get to not do any harm, and I also get to not feel the pressure of trying to live up to something. I get the sense that you came in with some memory of some things that you did, then and that inculcated a sense in you that you needed to atone for something. And that comes in on the worthiness and all the other stuff. So I would take inventory of your judgments. I would take inventory of all of those parts of you that you might have disowned, all the ugly bits. And when you decide that all the ugly bits are so incredibly adorable and lovable, you will experience a freedom that you've not experienced yet in this life inside of you. You don't
Looking
need to
forward to
spend
getting there.
you don't need to spend so much energy not screwing up. You don't need to spend so much energy being worthy because you're already worthy, and screwing up is just called learning on this level.
Oh, that resonates. I appreciate that. And yeah, I definitely feel like I came in with a lot of intensity.
Yeah, and that's fun. Being intense is fun.
It has its moments.
All right, man.
So thank you. I appreciate it.
All
Thank you
right,
so
God
much.
bless you.
God
Thank you.
bless you too.
Well, all right. I'm gonna go take a walk. I'm a little tired. God bless you all.
Bless
God
you.
bless you.
Thank you,
Thank
so
Thank you,
much.
you,
Jeffrey.
Jeff.